International bitterness units, or better known as IBUs or even BUs for short, is a common beer stat found in most breweries and tap rooms. Like a score for wine, it's a number that many of us use to decide which beer is good and which beer is not. Unfortunately, this number tells us very little. My question is, are you one of the millions of beer drinkers that have been misled by IBUs? Here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, not far from the iconic Mississippi River, you'll find a bustling craft beer scene. When you step inside Inbound Brew Co., you'll find a variety of great craft beer from a Berliner Weiss at 0 IBUs to a West Coast IPA at nearly 100. And with this wide range of IBUs, the challenge is deciding how much bitterness is just right for your palate and which beer will get you there. So how can you make the right choice from only a single IBU number? Well, in short, you can't, and you sort of can. I'll explain in a minute. I'm Jeremy Storton. I'm an advanced Cicerone and the host of the Good Beer Matters podcast. I've partnered with BreweryDB to bring you Trusted BrewKnowledge. Trusted BrewKnowledge is a series of videos to help you better understand beer and what to make of it. And today, we're going to talk about the bitter truth of IBUs. IBUs are a simple measurement of how many bittering compounds are in a beer. This is why we have a single number to explain how bitter the beer will taste. The most common of these are isomerized alpha acids from hops after the boil, but you can get bitterness from other compounds such as dark roasted grains as well. IBUs are accurately measured by expensive equipment, or for the massive breweries that can't afford this equipment, by a formula that gets the IBU number pretty close. The problem with all this is that these methods were developed around the 1950s when mass-produced lager was king and lower alpha hops were the norm. The other problem is that these IBU numbers that we rely on tell only a fraction of the story. The rest of the story is told in context with the beer in a concept known as the perception of bitterness, which is influenced by many factors. A premium Czech Pilsner that rings in between 30 and 45 IBUs can have a pronounced but soft and delicate bitterness to it. This is due mainly to the soft water and the ions that favor the malt. An American Stout can have as low as 35 IBUs but taste much higher, especially if it is fairly dry and has an acrid bitterness coming from the roasted grains. A Flanders Red can top out at a mere 25 IBUs but still taste quite bitter due to the interaction of bitterness and acidity. A double IPA can clock in at 100 IBUs, but still be enjoyable without any face-melting bitterness. This is largely due to the amount of malt used and the production of residual sugars to balance the bitterness. These are all examples of why we shouldn't judge a beer by its number. The perception of bitterness is complex and depends on its ingredients, the process, pairings, and personal taste. Once we understand this, then we can use IBUs not as a rule, but as a guide to steer us toward an enjoyable experience. In the next video, I'm going to introduce you to my rule of 20s for IBUs. We're also going to talk about the beer styles in each IBU range, the perception of bitterness, as well as the perfect occasions to enjoy them. So, grab yourself a beer and stay tuned.